Hey everyone, welcome to the new session on open source. Today we are having Aman with us. So he will be talking about GSOC preparation strategy, how you can crack GSOC, right? So let's talk about Eduhub community. So Eduhub is an open platform for each and everyone. So student can learn, grow together. So our main motto is to encourage student community about tech. So let's start with the session. Aman, the virtual stage is yours. You can start with the session.
Yeah, hello. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Said, for this warm welcome. I really appreciate all the efforts that you guys put into organizing this. And talking about me, like currently I'm in third year of my college, pursuing BTech in computer science. And recently started contributing to open source and I got selected for GSOC under Open Food Facts. In the past, like I had been part of MLH Fellow fellowship prep batch, and in between, like I had done some previous industry internships, and like this is pretty much it about me. Talking about like open source in general, I had like prepared a small bit of PPT to like go ahead with. Let me have a look how to share it. Just give me a second. Meanwhile, hello everyone. Hello Shard. Hello Anamika, and I can see like people even from outside of India. That's uh, really great. So can someone confirm in the chat like if they can see my PPT, this presentation?
Yeah, your screen is visible completely.
Okay, sure. There with the designs, I'm really not good of a UI UX designer, so like copied it somewhere from Canva, and this is about a brief introduction what open source in general is. Like most of the answers will be done like what you asked in the comments. So I'm gonna go ahead and good evening. Nice to have you all. Second thing, what is open source in general? So if you wanna like have a look around at read these things, that's totally fine. But I'm gonna explain you in simple terms what open source basically means. Any program software in general in software industry, what it means. Some softwares are like totally open to all. Everyone can see the code base, and they can even like contribute to it if they are like knowledgeable enough and they find it like interesting too. And when it comes about contributing, it really doesn't mean that you contribute just by like writing codes. You can like contribute by being a good reviewer. You can like also contribute by writing docs, maybe like creating issues that you face and reporting it to the community. You can like do it pretty much anyway. And that being said, like if you someone thinks that writing documentation is not great of being an open source enthusiast, to be honest, there are more people who are writing code than people who are writing documentation. So everyone's welcome. And giving you some examples of what open source softwares can be. Like most of us, we are using like may have used VLC Media Player in the past. So that is also an open source software. Some of you guys might have been using Linux as your operating system. So most of the Linux based operating systems, they are open source. The extra benefits of open source is that they are free. Like there is less chance of vulnerabilities, and like there is always a great community support. Some more project open source projects can include Flutter. So like Flutter is currently what we can use to make applications, cross-platform applications, and that mostly I use and like our community uses too. And another one is would not forget to mention Open Food Facts, the community I'm working at currently. So what they are focusing on is like food transparency. So if you scan a barcode of a food product, they can give you like pretty much every detail that is in it. Like you can even compare like scanning 4 or 5 items, which one is the best suitable for your health and anything. So this is it, and let me move ahead to the next slide. uh, Talking about the GSOC journey, like how I started and what steps I did. So the first in it is like selecting the organization. So this is like in the initial first step, what you do, like you go ahead and like see the previous uh, co- organizations who has participated, or you can like just see if you started late, which organizations are participating at it in GSOC. If you're like looking just for GSOC, if you're just in general curious about any software, you can just go ahead and like search any organization or you wish to. And the second period was contribution period. So this is the time when you like decide, okay, this is the organization I'm gonna be like passionate about and work and try for GSOC. Then you can like start having a look at their GitHub repositories, find something that inspires you, like interests you, and something is in the range that you can learn and try to contribute. Like do that quite often. Like for me, this is one of the most crucial part, like which got me selected. Most of the time, I had been contributing to the GitHub repositories, and like most of the conversation and how I got to know the mentors and how they got to know me was through like GitHub PR comments on GitHub PRs and resource. And the third most interesting thing is writing good proposal. Even though you are good at like these second step and the first step, if you're not like courageous enough and not trying enough to like make your mentors or your organization understand how you gonna like do the particular task over the summer, like with a detailed plan, you uh, the chances of the selection gets quite a low. So moving ahead to the next slide, I'm just gonna explain you the paths that it is not always about like just going for GSOC or just going for outreachy program. You just in general explore all the things that you go ahead and like see some particular project. Maybe you got inspired by the GNU project, the Linux project, and then sometime you get inspired by something else. So I was just having a look around, and I found out open food facts. And like when I started contributing, the mentors were really generous. Like the first time when I tried to like solve a good first, so the mentors had already done the work. They said that like they will mention me the next time they find something uh, useful to like for me to work on. And glad they remembered, like after 2 or 3 days, like they did mention me in a issue like you could try and solve it. So that was the like heartwarming welcome for me into a community. And for someone who is a beginner in open source, it feels like something really exciting, and that's why I decided like I'm going for this community. Like even if I don't get selected for GSOC, the warm welcome that I'm getting, this is like worth working for. The second part is text, text, and languages. So you like found an organization who is participating in GSOC this year, okay, and you found out like what you love with their project. So you can go ahead and see like which tech stacks they are using for. Like in our organization, you may find multiple projects, some of which are like actively in use, and some of which may be like be deemed to participate in GSOC this year. So you can have a look around like which tech stack suits you the best. Maybe some are good at web development, some are good at React in particular, some are good at Angular. So you can have a look around like which suits you enough, and something you like can learn within a time frame of like 2 or 3 months, so you could work ahead with it. This simple motto of this particular middle part of this presentation was like if you don't know about a tech stack completely, it may take you some time to learn and get used to it. So it's better if you know something already, like go ahead for it, and that will be a really benefit. Most of the time you can find tech stacks like people open source organizations prefer DevOps, and these days like there had been a recent trend in like Flutter projects, and the good old web development projects, like the web based projects are always there in the GSOC proposals and like GSOC communities. So this is it, like this is how you choose tech stack and languages. And the third thing is a good proposal. So, like when you are done with everything, you decided like what you like, what languages and tech stacks you are going to choose and work with, and then you see like contributing actively to the organization. Then comes the part about good proposal. So it should include like not be long enough, not be short enough. Something in between 10 12 pieces are like good enough. You should write a detailed plan like how will you try to achieve the certain things, and like how will you plan out your whole journey, like for the first week what will you do for like the whole 12 weeks. You can lay out a plan for the first three, but for the first 3 weeks I will like work with the UI. For the next three I will like work with something else, and for the next three I will improve on like caching mechanisms, and for the last few times you will do the testing and everything. So write about that, and like don't lie anything in the proposal. If you don't know testing, if you don't know something like more about Kubernetes, or if your work is around DevOps, so just don't lie and just write it clear there that you currently don't know but you are trying to learn it. So people see efforts more than like what you lie about. And since everyone knows like you're starting out, you can't learn everything at all. So writing just the truth is like the most simple and basic thing that you can do. Be humble, and that's like most of the mentors are like the maintainers of your project love. Like I'm gonna wait here for a moment and see if there are any questions that I need to like answer right now. Is it anything, Chris, that I need to like be aware of?
So we have some questions. They are not generally ones that need to be answered to this topic. Are different ones, but one of them is, if the open source software are free, how the developers earn their money?
Okay, so like let me tell you a little bit uh, story about a GSOC in general. So Google Summer of Code. So the organization you are working for doesn't pay you. Google does pay to the contributors, and this is where it comes about like how the communities, like how these projects earn money. So you all have been using Android, right? Most of the people are still using Android, and to be fair, Android is based on the Linux kernel. So at time Linux was free, so Google was like easily able to like make something out of it, and they did Android. And like 90% of the revenue that I guess, not 90%, but like most of the revenues that Google gets today is just because they had Android, and due to Android, like number of YouTube users grow, their services in demand generally grow. So if open source was not in the first place, Google would not have like grown this much. So just to pay a tribute to like the enthusiasm of open source, Google does just fund a lot to these projects, and like GSOC is just one small effort in that field. So for my organization, uh, for the past, like the Mozilla Foundation, you might have heard about the Firefox browser they like had made. So they like had funded, and recently I guess Google.org, basically a team of Google also like funds the project. So most of the time these are depends on sponsors, some fundings from big companies, and like people who like find these things uh, useful, they pretty much donate. So even if some of us you are using some softwares and we found that okay, it is about to go like idle since they have not been getting much funds. So anyone can contribute, and this is how they get enough money to pay the developers. And that being said, not every software developer in the open source is just doing open source. They might be doing some other like software engineering jobs outside of this open source, and they are just doing this open source thing just because they find it like welcoming to contribute and work for a cause. And yeah, that is it. These are the 2 or 3 ways like how particular open source software gets its funding.
That was a really great explanation, Aman. And another question we have from the same person is that they know a basic of one language. If they know the basics of one language, and they were trying to search for good first issues, but they couldn't find any. So, how do you suggest they can find issues, good first issues, to contribute to?
Okay, like the Divyans, that being said, you can't like you have to expand your knowledge about like just get out of one language thing. Be confident enough. If you know C++ or anything, try to learn a framework or maybe some domain like web development. So that would be making you much easier to contribute to those projects. So if you know like JavaScript, trying to learn React. If you know like are into web development, go learn Angular and then find projects that are related to that. If you want to like contribute code just with the language, it will be a little bit harder. And about good first issues, like I'm suggesting you again, have a look at the tech stacks that the particular project is using, and then you can like comment in there any of the issues, like or join their Slack channels or whatever the communication they are using. Some organization use Discord, some use Slack, so join in. And there is always a contributors channel. Drop in and say hi, and like what's your exact problem that you're new, you're trying to learn and you want to like help. They will like suggest you some good first resource. For like marginalization, you're always welcome to come to Open Food Facts. Drop in and say hi, and let's like see like how the mentors and other contributors are generous enough to like help you out. They can even ping you some issues as well. I guess that should be good enough to go ahead with the plans or learn any particular tech stack that will like ease your journey into contributing. Any more questions we have? I guess.
Yeah, so someone
Yeah.
wants to know the best programming language for GSOC.
Okay. That's kind of, don't judge me like I laugh. That's not just a good question to go for. What's the best language for GSOC? The interesting thing is, if you go in GSOC, you can find about anything. Okay, like any languages, any frameworks, you think that Perl is dead, you can find projects that are still using Perl. You think that okay, maybe some companies are still using or like maybe Ruby still for web development. Some are going for Rust, Golang, anything in general. So it depends. As I told you, go for a framework for now or like a tech stack in general, web development or anything, and could try to contribute with that. And also like I can suggest you two languages that I think is the most popular right now. One is being JavaScript. So most of the time you can see projects that are revolving around web development. So that being said, like most of the web development project use JavaScript, maybe as a backend using Node, and maybe in the front end. So JavaScript is good. Second thing you can learn is Python. That is also being used like more in like backend stuff as Django and maybe in the machine learning field as well. And third thing, like particularly, I started with Flutter and Dart. So like I knew a bit of Dart, and that's how I was able to contribute. It depends. Like I suggested you like three to four like most popular alternatives. Java is also good. Like if you are contributing to some open source projects that are making native Android apps, so you will find your skills in Java very much useful. But just trust me, knowing a language and knowing about a particular tech stack are kind of different. You can learn a tech stack and not be a master in a language, and you can be a master in a language and not be really good at a particular tech stack. So keep a balance. I'll just suggest you go like if you wish learn Android development, iOS development, go learn React Native, React, or maybe Flutter, or anything in general. So that's more generic. So the in that way you will find like a little bit easier to contribute. Uh, I guess there is one. Sandesh is like answering the questions. Great to see you here, Sandesh. Uh, okay,
There's a very similar question to the one you answered just right now. So they're asking for the most contributed technology in GSOC.
I really don't have a statistics to that. So I guess it would be related to JavaScript, and it may depend on like per year. Like 2020 might be something more to React. 2019 might have been to DevOps. Really don't know. If you are good at React, just go in GSOC and search React and see how many are like. You can go to the GSOC site and see all the organizations. You can like search for any language or framework, and it will filter out all the projects that have been using that, and you can get a brief idea how it is. Like I'm gonna pick some questions for. There is this Pranav Harabe. He just asked this question: do we get any reference for writing the proposal? You may or you may not. For our community, we had a template, and we used that to like complete the proposal. And meanwhile, you can check my GitHub. There I uploaded my proposal, and like you can find many people who like get their proposal even open source, so that you can have a look around and read. I'll drop in my GitHub account in the chat. Oh wait, so only full stack developers have a chance. This is Prashadeva. No, exactly not. Some, if you're really good at front end, that's also good. If you're good at just UI UX, still you are good. You can still contribute. And if you are just good at like machine learning or anything, you can still contribute. Just the limitations are where you can find such organization which like suits your skill set and like favorability. Okay, so the next GSOC is in 2023. Should I start being active now? I want to understand the projects more better and increase my chance of uh, selection. Okay, that being said, Divyans, you have a lot of questions. Just start it right now. Just trust me. Like if you started right now and the time of like next year GSOC begins around February or March, so you will be staying around for the community since like this month, and you will know a lot about the community. You can learn a lot about projects. You can like get to know the mentors, and they will be able to get to know you. So in general, it will create in them a sense of sensation that you are there to like stay around. And obviously, when the next time the GSOC period starts, they will try to favor you because it's just a favor back. Like you stayed there, contributed so much, so they will just do the same thing. That's a good idea. Start contributing even today. Like try it. It may feel like very overwhelming. Uh, I was even afraid to contribute my first like contribution since like maybe I started in February and then things became escalated and I like found it easy to contribute. But I was afraid also. How to find projects and where? I'm just like wait a second. I'm trying to find a link and share you it all. Okay. Chris, I'm sending the link in the private chat. You can like comment it in the YouTube section.
Yeah,
And there is
sure.
one question: are front end developers exempted? No, really not. There are a lot of front end issues than back end. People just are people are needed everywhere. Good quality people are like really hard to find. If you're good at just front end, this is like the basic thing that is first asked, uh, like first seen even before. Like you visit a website, you say it's like how it looks, not how it functions. This is the first impression. So this is the first step. Like front end developers are obviously put into more consideration, like not more, exactly the same. So I also sent a link to my proposal. You may find a look. You may have a look. Okay. Yeah, I sent the link. Chris, can you just send it here? It will be sent to you guys soon. Okay. I'm moving ahead with the next slide in the presentation. So, what are the prerequisites of for beginning into open source? This is one of my favorite things that I like was giggling and smiling when I was preparing this particular slide. So, first is willingness. You have to be eager enough to like to start at least. Okay, so you will face a lot of maybe trouble and self agitation and everything. So, willingness is the first thing. Any programming language that I said, uh, you can use some of your research skills. So if you know a particular language, you can see which frameworks are there or libraries are there for it to go with. And few contributions. Just go ahead blindly and like say in the Slack channel or Discord, I want to contribute. They might find some good first issues, or even in the GitHub repositories, you can like search for good first issues and find some. There might be something very simple like correcting a documentation, and that is also not bad. Like this is the as a developer I can say you like when we have a good documentation, we find it easy to contribute and like read the code after some time. So that is it, like few contributions you can, if you feel like stuck, okay, I know like I can fix this problem, but I'm really not sure which file to look for or anything, you can just ask the mentors. They will reply you, and like don't expect an immediate reply that you just said okay I want this thing. It may take you 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days for the mentors to reply because they have a lot of work. Trust me, I used to think the same thing as when beginner wrote, but later I realized they had been contributing to so much project, and also they have their own work to do, own life to like live. So that is it. And this is like a good friend. This will help you a lot. So if you're doing pair programming or you have a bunch of good friends like who are passionate enough, so it will be easier for you guys to plan out like what to do next, how to like get my preparations done. If you find yourself stuck, you can discuss it with a friend. So having a good friend is always good. I have few of my friends, like close friends, they helped me a lot in the process. So that is also like a great point. In the time of like GSOC proposal period, my laptop like gone bad. It wasn't even starting. I used my friend's laptop for 2 or 3 days just to write proposal and everything. So having a good friend is like always a nice thing. There is like good health. So if you're like starting out and you're just thinking of pouring all your time into open source, and you might find yourself like frustrated enough, I'm not able to solve some issues and anything, and that happens like with most of the people. So you might end up like losing your health. So keep yourself healthy. Health is the first thing. If you are like healthy and a good health condition, you will find it much easier to read code and like contribute, and in general learn. So this is like most underrated, but health is good. The the third last is like mindset of learning. So there's one thing like you found an issue that okay, for after some time you had been into open source, you find an issue that you know you can like solve, but you need some like maybe learn that particular framework or learn that particular library. So be like happy enough that okay I will learn and like try to implement it. So this will take you like far ahead from other peers. Like always have a mindset of learning. If someone throws a random issue at you and your mentors like do this, and even if you don't know, like try to calm yourself down and learn it and try to solve it. So if you're brave enough to like uh, be courageous to pick any issues or like solve anything, you would be good to go. It will take time to be that brave, but eventually you guys will be. The second last is good soft skills. So okay, you might be a great coder, you might be something really interesting, but there can be times like your ideas won't match with your maintainers. Like you can't convey everyone if you have not good soft skills. I'm able to speak in front of you because I'm like fairly good with good soft skills, like soft skills. And if I would not have been, even if I might have been a great coder, I would have not have like got this opportunity to speak in front of you guys. So soft skills is like an underrated thing, but you should have a look at it. There's nothing goes, just communicate with people, and this is how you improve this thing. And if you get chance to like give presentations or like talk shows at your college, at classroom or anywhere, just grab that opportunity. You might find yourself like trembling in fear, like how will I do it, but eventually you will get over it. So keep in mind, good soft skills always help you out. Fourth is the writing skills. So in the code part, you might even not find yourself always having video conferences with everyone. So write out exactly, precisely, and clear, so anyone can have a look at your documentation or like your proposals or maybe your GitHub issues or PRs to understand exactly what you're trying to say to them. So these are like the simple prerequisites for beginning into open source. Moving into the next slide. So this is the timeline, like how like GSOC organizes if you miss out on the dates. This is for like 2022, and for most of the time, right, you can like start looking after February. Process begins. For GSOC, like if you are into open source, start contributing today. It doesn't need a date. So uh, there are perks of being into open source. GSOC is like one of those perks. If you are into open source from like right now and continuing into it, you might find yourself contributing their projects in LFX mentorships, maybe in like GSOC, Google Season of Docs, and maybe outreachy program. There are like tons of it. So just stay around and like any community or like multiple communities if you wish to. You don't need to do open source daily. Find a issue, solve it over a weekend. If you just do one PR per weekend, still like 12 PRs for like whole year. It's more than enough to like get your proposal better than other people. So this year, like March 7, it was the list of all the accepted organizations that were participating in GSOC this year were published, and where it was published on the GSOC site that I said, you like have a look around at that. And this is like around the same date. Like I guess I copied the same thing in the slide. Okay, after March 7 to April 3rd, like all the contributors who like were staying around in the community, and they discuss some good projects that they can go ahead with. Even sometimes the organizations themselves like create some projects that they want to get like completed over the summer. So that's also like there, and in between these things happen. And like in between the March 7th and like April 19th, you will like find it very like most people start contributing, and also you should do the same. Like if you start contributing, you have multiple PRs, it will create even your better understanding in the project, and you will also like make a believe in the mentors and maintainers that you are like learning and you are a good candidate for it. So this April 4th to April 19th, this is the period where like you write a good proposal and submit it, and then you are not done here. If you wish to, you can just leave and wait for the result. For me, I just wanted to stick around, so I like contributed even in between April 19 to May 20. So you can just keep contributing, doesn't matter about the GSOC results. So if you not get GSOC selected for GSOC, you still have some good open source portfolio on your resume, like you have contributed to this project, and that's really good. And maybe in the next season you can get the opportunity, not for GSOC, you can get for the education outreach program, and like there are tons of things. So stick around in the community even if you're a beginner from now on, and you will find it much easier to like contribute and go ahead. So, are there any questions, Krish?
Yeah, there are. So, uh, one person's asking, how many contributions are good enough for a successful completion of GSOC?
Is it about completion or selection? I guess this would be like for selection. For
I think
completion,
it's for selection.
yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. So for selection, it isn't really a matter of numbers, since you might have like solved just three PRs, but that had been huge. So that will be obviously better than someone who had solved 10 PRs but still have like less contributions. And also it depends something you solved which were previously been stale for like a while. So it depends really. Not exactly like number is real enough. 5 to 6 would be good enough to like fill in your proposal. Like try even if you're not able to like stay around and try to explore. That will be really good. Okay, there's the last like near to last slides. So how to do anything in general. So whether it is about learning any particular framework, any particular language, or starting in open source, or doing anything in general in your life. First, like observe. Second, learn. Third, solve. And if you are stuck, then just observe, learn, solve, and like the cycle will continue on, and you will like be able to get out of most of your troubles and like keep on your learning in between these things. So this will be really great if you like sort of does do this thing. And there are something key points that I thought like would be worth mentioning in this slides. So the one thing is it's never too late to start anything. For this year GSOC, I started out pretty late, uh, like around April, I guess, or maybe March last. I was just afraid enough to contribute, and since I started late, but still was able to like kick off GSOC, so I guess it's never too late to start doing anything. Like I just started right now, and it's also better if you start early, but it's never too late to start anything. I'm in my third year. I might have thought that okay, my placements are about to start. I should focus on that, but I like tried for GSOC, and gladfully it happened. The second quote that I like found is somewhere on the LinkedIn. I found someone's post, and like this is from a movie, Turbo 2013, like Pixar movie. If you're really a fan of animation movies, you will love it. So in the movie, there is a line: "No dream is too big, and no dreamer too small." So if you're thinking, okay, like GSOC is a really great target, and I'm not that big of a person, so this line will just remind you again: no dream is too big, and you are not that weak to not get into anything. So uh, these are enough to motivate me, and this is it. You have any questions for me? I would love to answer around anything unusual, and like if you wish to go beyond the topics and knowing gender, anything, I would love to. Okay,
Uh, yeah, so someone's asking which organizations are going to participate next year.
okay. This is not really sure. Let me go back in the slide. So if you could see here, this is the March 7th is the date where the organizations which will be participating are announced. Okay, so in between, if you like, you there is always a chance if some organization are been participating in the GSOC for past 3 years, they will participate in it in the next year. So you can't be really sure, but the chances are good enough. So you can have like just like the VLC video LAN community, they had been participating in GSOC like quite every year. So if our organization had been participating for like past 2 or 3 years, the chances are they will still participate this year. So you can't be sure. This 7th is the date you will like be sure like which organizations are participating. Killer Rajaman is on the street. Okay, you are here, and is there any more questions? So how do we? Yeah, I answer this question. Which organizations will participate? So Shuman, it's all your hard work and consistency, bro. It's better. Thanks for the like warm message. Really appreciate this. Uh, do we have more questions, Chris, or we could like hang around and talk in general?
Yeah. So, Aman, I actually have a few questions for you. So, first of mine is that from your experience, what do you think that GSOC is looking for, like beginners or very experienced people?
Okay. So, what GSOC is about? Let me tell you. GSOC is about bringing our college students. Earlier, it was just about college students. It was about bringing people into open source. So, if someone participates in GSOC or like for a particular organization, the main motto behind it for the organization and even for Google is to like bring more people into open source so they can stay around and like contribute small or like largely over the period of time period like till they work. So this is the main motto, and since if someone professional is already there, uh, there is chance that they are already good and they might be working for some organizations and they might not get much interest in like contributing after GSOC ends. So people like young people who are starting out are like if they get fascinated about a community or anything, they will find it like really useful and like they will try to stay around. So I guess people just prefer freshers in GSOC because if you see in this year it was allowed anyone above anyone apart from even the college can participate in GSOC. So it would have been like the some of the senior developers in the organizations could have been selected because they are already like wise enough and more smart enough than most of the students, but they didn't. So the main motto is like they like try to bring in more people into open source. So beginners are more favored. Like if you're really experienced and still a student and really experienced, that's great. But if you're a student and new, you shouldn't be really worried. Okay, I'm not that of a great coder. You will be eventually after maybe 3 months, 4 months. Who knows? Like you have more questions from your side. like this?
Yeah, I do. So in GSOC, I heard that GSOC is very selective, and not a lot of people get in. So, from Kunal's story, Kunal Kushwaha, he was a freshman who got into GSOC, right? If I'm not wrong. So, being a freshman and getting into GSOC must be a very hard thing, right? And the competition only increases as the eligibility increases for more participants. So,
Uh,
how hard would it be to get into GSOC?
okay, as I told you the numbers, like for my organization, we had, I guess, around 40 proposals in total. For like, there were 7 projects or 10. I'm not sure, really sure about the numbers. And like, out of which 5 or 6 people got selected for GSOC, and there were just 40 proposals. So if you see the ratio, this is like every one person out of six gets selected. So isn't it better than like when you apply for a job vacancy and there are like 100 vacancy and there are like 10,000 people? So it's still better than that, right? And talking about if you're in a freshman year and like there is one guy in our organization, others I remember his name is. He is from I guess NIT Trichy first year, and a really calm guy, and he got selected GSOC in his first year itself. And as far as I know, for his particular project, there were not much people contributing to the GitHub repo, so it wasn't hard enough. People just try in and like get their proposals reviewed by the mentors and everything. But at end, if you have worked on the projects beforehand, that will be like more appropriate and more selective. So if you're contributing, the chances of your selections are really good. Not doesn't matter if you're from tier three colleges like first year or not even from college, anything. So contribution matters much more than any experiences or like anything in general. Do I have more questions? Yeah.
Yeah, just this one last one that with GSOC, like a lot of opportunities come in. So when people get accepted into GSOC, after that they get so many opportunities at their doorstep. So does it actually happen, or was it just for a select few? Does GSOC bring a lot of opportunities to you as well? Because there was I have a friend who did GSOC and then immediately it was accepted into GitHub Campus Expert and MLH Fellowship and all those programs.
Not really sure. Like GitHub, like GSOC does that much of a miracle. So I'm assuming if someone had got into GSOC, so he's already kind of sort of better than some of the folks. So if he's getting selected, it's not necessarily just because of GitHub. It may be just because of his personal skills. About MLH fellowship, like I had been part of prep, not for the full fellowship, and it didn't matter much of a thing. So it just a GSOCer will be get selected. There had been GSOCers who had been rejected for MLH fellowship. And about GitHub campus program, I'm really not sure. Yeah, they might try to like get people who are into who had been part of GSOC. It will be a great thing since if someone had been part of like GSOC, like had done GSOC, so it like creates a sense of think that they already know some bit of good communication skills. They know how to write code and documentation. So it just gives a good thing on resume, not necessarily that they just bring you tons of opportunities. Yeah, you may find that when you're explaining or like having an interview, and if they have tons of resumes to sort out from people, they will obviously see someone who had like been part of some programs or some organizations who where he wrote some like what you call like code which had been used by multiple people or like tons of people. So he had wrote production level code. That is like a good thing. So that's why people look for something of they prioritize GSOCers. They don't select anyone blindly. Eventually, they will also have to give interviews. They might get a little bit of upper hand, but not just blind selection.
Very cool. GSOC seems like GSOC brings a lot of opportunities, but not as much as I was thinking, because the person is already pretty great at those things and is already very great, so he might not be needing that much to get into those programs, because if he got accepted into GSOC, it is sure that he would get accepted into other programs which are likely less competitive than GSOC, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so, since GSOC is very, like you said, 1 out of 6 person gets accepted into the program,
Into my in my particular organization, not
or
really.
in your organization, one
Yeah.
out of six people got accepted into the program. So, what do you think are the chances that someone who is just starting out their open source journey and has been 3 months or something like that into it, could they get into the program? Like, maybe there's some person who's like,
Uh, Trust me, like if I have a particular organization that is participating in GSOC and I have someone who had been contributing to my like repositories for more than 3 months, like maybe 1 2 issues a week. That being said, he will know much better than any senior could like know that particular project. So I guess it will be much better to like include that person who had been sticking around for the whole time being. I had seen like in my organizations there were some good GitHub profiles also, but they had not been much active on like GitHub contribution journey towards the organization. They just dropped in at the time of proposal, submitted their proposal. So yeah, maybe you are a great coder, you had done exceptionally well, but for GSOC, it's not just about coding. There is also something called community bonding period. So what it is all about is connecting to the people in open source, learn how they work. It's not just about your skill sets. So it is more like I can say GSOC is like teaching you manners how to be in open source rather than like being just how to get like write code. I saw, I guess, some questions in the chat. BCA course वाले student join हो सकते हैं क्या? Okay, so the folks who are here from non-Hindi background is basically asking if someone from bachelor, I don't know the full form. It's sorry, the BCA course can join, like non-BTech students can join GSOC. Yeah, anyone from any background can join. You don't even need to be a college student. You can be a professional and still join GSOC. So I guess this is pretty much it. I don't have anything more to say. The slide is also over. Nothing much left. Uh, any more questions? I guess it's Sahitya here. He had some questions as well.
I don't believe there are any more questions in the chat. Thank you for coming along and answering all these wonderful questions and lighting our path to GSOC. I would like to invite Arnav Rastogi from another play from Hack Club Wraith, and they are going to tell us about their Summer of Code program, which is also similar to GSOC. But yeah, so they are
Yeah,
going to
I'll
tell
Hey
us.
guys,
here on here.
hey there. Hey, this is Arnav, and I'm the management subordinate at Hack Club RAIT. Now, Hack Club RAIT is a student-run community which is focused on open source. We're bringing you our own summer of code, which is co-sponsored by Interview Buddy, Certo Plus, .xyz, and there are a few more. We already have 21 projects and 50, 60 participation registrations at hand. So we'll be starting around 15th of July, and we're looking forward to your participation. It's going to be beginner friendly, and it's entirely student run. So yeah, okay. Thank you. I'll be
Thank you.
sending the links and everything in the WhatsApp group. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for hopping along and telling us about your Summer of Code program. And a last thank you to Aman with
I
Aman.
guess there is one question. Can I answer it before we end the session?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
sure.
is there any non-technical roles in GSOC? I guess there are. Really not sure, but there was this project under Gnome Foundation that was focused on something kind of UI UX. And apart from that, there is also like a Google season of docs that is similar. You can not similar to GSOC. That is more about writing documentation for these things, these APIs and everything. So you can have a look around at that. So yeah, there are pretty much roles. Just research it. I'm really not sure, but perhaps there are. Okay, thank you everyone for joining and like tuning in and asking your questions. And really, really big thanks to Sai and like Chris and everyone around here for inviting me. It's been really nice to talk to students so enthusiastically. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Aman, for giving us such a great overview on all of these questions and GSOC. I hope that a lot of people in our live stream would be able to now participate and get accepted in the GSOC that's happening next year. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everybody, for joining in this live stream. Do join the EduHub Discord community and WhatsApp group for more such updates. And now we wrap up. Bye.
Yep. Bye bye.